Okay, so this video will show you how to complete this assignment. So we're going to develop a sign up and authentication modules to use in different applications. So first, let's open IntelliJ. Now, I have created almost complete application, but partially that you need to enhancing this to meet the requirements. So when you create a project, you can start to go to File, New Project, and we're going to use JavaFX as the graphic user interface. So pick the JavaFX and make sure your SDK link to 1.8, okay, which is the path that you can just go to New and hit JDK, and you can link to the location where you store your Java program files, Java JDK, and get that. Okay, then if you hit next, and then just fill in the project name, you should have the template with the source folder. By its default, it's going to be a sample package. Now we're going to apply the ABC technique, so we're going to rename the sample to view, okay, and rename your first file to login java.fx fxml and login java.fx view. And then this is the login page. So let's look at the application a little bit when it launch. So first, this is a login page that coming from these two live codes, two files. So now explaining how JavaFX works. So when we get into the code here, so it's going to start the application to load the login Java fxml, which is you need to install Scene Builder, and you can look at how to do that through the web links here. So I explain how to do that here. After you install Scene Builder, when you switch to Scene Builder here, it should give you the graphic user interface to create GUI that you've seen for sign up page right there. You can just drag and drop the items on this screen, okay, and if you want to rename text for the buttons, you can just go here. So pretty much these two files create this graphic user interface that we've seen. You pretty much don't need to code anything, only drag and drop and rename things here, then you get the view. Alright, so we also require you to create a second view where you're going to have the sign up, and this item I use the hyperlink under controls, okay, so we have hyperlink right there, so that's why it looks like blue and underline to click it. Now when I click this, it's supposed to show up the sign up page, which I create two additional files for the view. So I name it sign up JavaFX view, which is this view, and sign up JavaFX.fxml. Now if you look at the code here, so the code is very similar. You try to, in JavaFX, you have the stage that represent the whole windows. So this is the whole windows that you do minimize, maximize. You set the title, sign up page right there, and XML loader is pretty much just linking to your Scene Builder file that I just showed up earlier. This is a file that you drag and drop. So that's why I have the sign up screen just exactly matched to the design that I have here. Okay, now come back to the code. That is the title. And then what I do is I put the sign up view as a parent, as a component of the scene. Like the stage is the whole window, scene is the gray area here. That I set the sign up view, which is the content. If you see the content actually is smaller than the gray area, right? Because gray area actually is scene, but this small rectangle here, this is the Scene Builder that I call in the code as parent here, right? Parent sign up view, which set into the scene. So you may see that we have that parent or SAP view set into the whole scene, and then make the whole stage show, the window show. So that's pretty much JavaFX view. So we're done with view. Now, how do we link? Right. So for example, if I want to type username, right? So let's say David, and password. So when we type this, I need to get the information from the user text fields here and password fields here into my controller. Controller is the place where we dealing with the logic. Okay, and when I hit create account, it's going to take that into controller. So let's expand the controller here. I'm going to have, this is the sign up controller or create account here. I call sign up page. So it's going to link to the sign up controller. So let's read the sign up controller. You may see that I start to have 3 fields. Text field that represent the first username, and I name it uname. Now, the second one is password field. I name PW, and the third one is the password field for confirm password. So text field and password field, the difference is just text field you see the text that user type. Password field where you see it's just dot. Now this name is very important. You have to do annotation fxml that linking back to sign up JavaFX view when you switch to text. First thing is make sure that you have fx controller, okay, embedded the attributes to grid pane here. If you don't see it, you need to type this in to make sure that this view linking to this controller. So I have package controller dot SAP controller here. That's linking to that. And also, like we see fxml notation, again fxml notation from SAP controller here. That's annotate saying that I'm going to link this to text field username. I'm talking about this text field uname here, where you have to specify inside your fxml right here uname. You may see it's exactly same name, right? So that's how we linking from view to controller, PW and confirm PW. So we're done with linking. Now let's look at about the buttons. We've done linking the fields. Now how do we link the button? Button also have the button, which adding this live attributes. On mouse click it, it's going to call the method. This is hashtag create account. So I'm linking by create the method name create account. So it's linking now. So whenever I click that, it's going to call this, which is going to take all the text from my create account here by checking if password, right? Password is that password field equals to the confirm password. If that equals, I start to create a user account. Now user is coming from the model. So in the model, I create a class as a user class, and the user take your username and password. Once that user hit that create account button, so it's going to pass those David and the password of David through these 2 fields, right? Through the constructor of user. Then the user object is created. And the user class is very simple with the getter and setters or the attributes, right? Username, password. So it's created by using this constructor. Now the user is created. Okay, let's go back to the SAP controller. So we see that if we create a user, we need to store the user in the database because we can have many users created. So that's why we start to create another class named UserDB to represent the database here. And UserDB is showing the list of the users. Database is just a list, using array list to store the list of users. And I can always get the list And the reason I want to get the list because when I create a new user, I get the list, get user list, array list return here. And array list has a method add. I can add the user to my list. One user is created, user added, get added to the list. Then we solve the problem with how we're going to authenticate the users. So to authenticate users, when you do login, we pretty much just going to get the user list again, the same user list that we see. Get the username, get users, return array list. So we're going to iterate to the whole list, which we have the size of the array list, how many users are there. So iterate to the list to compare. For authenticate is the same thing that we do linking. Where hit login, username and password, going to map to username and password. So that login just going to say authenticate is the method, right? So if you want to look at XML, it's exactly username, password, right? Where hit login is called authenticate, right? So this login controller take the username and password. Like now, I want to authenticate David that I just create. So I'm taking this two data in, but my code is not complete. Like I said, it's partially done for you to make sure you understand. David is the user. I didn't authenticate the password yet. I only authenticate the user is existing in the list by looping through the list and compare the username.getText, which is David, to each user from array list by getting the username. So if it's equal to say welcome. So let's see if I say welcome. So now I didn't take care of how about if David is not existing, since I didn't hit create, right? That's why I didn't do anything. I didn't do else statement. So that means it's not in there. Once I creating it, now I have David on the list. I have Tim, I have Tom, and I have David. Now let's do sign up, sign in again, log in. You should say welcome David once created because of this. Alright, so now we solved the problem with creating account and logging in. But whenever I shut down this program, what happens? All the data is in RAM. It's going to be gone. So that's why if I come back to create account, subcontroller, create account, besides adding to the list, I also want to write that to the file users.dat. So that's going to solve the problem with when you turn off the application, all the user information still existing on the hard disk. So that's why I create a user IO, stand for input and output users to the file. So this user IO, I create one method to write the users. And what do I write? I write the array list that store this whole list of information of the users. Right, this list. So let's look at, this is just try catch. When you do that, you always have to start with try catch. Now let's look at user IO. You may see that when I write the users, I pass array list. And this is just a code to write to the file to users.dat. That's why it's created right there. And write the object. So that's done writing. Now when I read back, when should I read back the users.dat? When I launch the application again. So if you look at my view, I have the method load userdb. First time when you launch application, I want to load the data. Then I just show the view, right? So when I hit play, first thing, load the data and show this view, login view. Now data is loaded to this method, right? Users io.read users. This user io.read user is going to read this user.dat. If you read that, it's take user.dat in and read the array list back that I just wrote. So this array list that I